We're at the World Championship event in Honolulu, Hawaii for everything Pokemon. But in today's video, we're gonna show you some of the top tips from some of the top PvP players in the game to make sure that wherever you're at in PvP, you guys can level up your gameplay. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Trainer Club. Here we go. All right, guys, so we have our #1 person giving you guys some of the top tips. All right, we have Rocha. And so how did you do in this tournament, man?
Pretty good, honestly, top 8, so I think that's not too bad, right?
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yes.
Okay, so what got you into PvP?
First of all, I really like Pokemon Go before PvP,
Yeah.
and I've kind of competed, so I think it was really natural when PvP came out, so to just start competing.
Okay, and then so what do you think you're best known for? Like if you were to fight somebody, what would they say? Like, oh man, like I don't want to fight this guy because of what?
I think probably because of my technical skills,
Yeah.
because I really know how to count well, how to
Okay.
time moves, and that's really being optimal for the game.
Yeah, that counting is very, very helpful. So if you guys don't know about counting, that's definitely something you want to look into. So for everybody that's in PvP, you know, for yourself, what do you think are the top 3 most useful things that you could share with people that they should learn about?
First of all, like I mentioned, move counting, super important. Learning how to time your move, your charge, and quick attacks. Second, I think capturing all the Pokemon, because one day there's a meta, next day there's another meta. We just have like a ton of move reveals,
Yeah.
and it's gonna shake everything up. So you don't know when like a useful Pokemon or useless Pokemon is gonna be good. So
Yeah.
right, so capture everything.
So do you have a couple Pokemon that you think eventually might become meta relevant?
Yeah, anything that's like PvP IVs wise, I keep. Even
Yeah.
if it's like a Spinarak, an Arbok, you don't know when it's gonna be good.
Okay.
Yes, and
That's
limited
fair.
meta also are a thing of GBL, right?
Yeah.
So they can be useful there.
Totally. And then so as far as move counting, could you explain a little bit more about that if people don't know exactly what that is?
Yeah, each move has a different duration. There's 1 through 5 turn moves. So you want to use your move when the opponent's gonna, before they finish their other move. Like if it's 2 against 3, you wanna throw 1 quick attack and throw your charge attack. So it's still one turn for their opponent, so it doesn't go the move through.
Okay.
For yourself.
That makes sense. And then as far as tip number 3.
Tip number 3 is a little bit like more doing your homework.
Okay.
Like read the meta, know the meta, because there's always Pokemon that are really good, right? Like
Right.
we have Gligar, Lickitung, Vigoroth, Annihilate, that's always been really good. So learning what to do against those Pokemon, because you're gonna see them everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important also.
Okay. So learning the meta, do you think
Yes.
that's what helped you be in the top 8?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think the most common Pokemon that you saw that you're like facing and you're like, oh, I know how to handle this, or oh crap, it's kind of hard?
Yeah, Lickitung, because I don't really have a Lickitung answer.
Yeah.
I don't have like a strong steel type or a strong dark type.
Yeah.
So it's just about the neutral play, right?
Yeah.
So Lickitung is a Pokemon that's really bulky and it does a lot of fast move pressure, but learning how to deal with it is very important if you don't have like a solid answer.
How do you deal with it?
I usually do a strategy that's chip and dip.
Yeah.
Like if people safe switch into Lickitung, I throw a charge move, throw some quick attacks, and then switch so I can have the advantage.
Okay, nice. I like that. So that's usually if they switch in, then you switch out
Yes.
into yours and
Yes.
get a little bit of damage.
Yes.
Nice. And then last question. If there was anybody out there that was, you know, trying to get into PvP, where would you suggest that they start? Maybe like a resource that helps you learn the meta?
Oh, honestly, watching a lot of content on YouTube, Twitch, and also pvpoke.com.
Yeah.
That's like the holy grail of PvP.
Yeah, PvPoke is amazing.
See, really recommend it.
Yeah. And then who do you watch?
I watch a lot of Latin streamers.
Okay.
Like Marto Galde, one of my teammates.
Yeah.
And myself, I stream also, so.
Okay, there you go. So where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, RochaBabyface1.
All right, there you go. You guys heard it here. You want to pay attention to his content because this dude just got top 8 in Worlds 2024. Congrats, man.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Appreciate you. And we have Rise with us at the World Champions 2024. How is your event so far, man?
It's been awesome. It's my first time in Hawaii, so I've been enjoying the experience, and seeing a lot of friends is always fun. And we just finished things off, so it's been a great event.
Yeah. You played?
I did.
And how did you do? Did you feel?
I did pretty solid. I made day 2, which is always tough at Worlds to top cut. So that was an achievement. Ended up losing on day 2, so I finished 5-2 overall.
Man,
top
that's good.
Top 32 overall.
Nice,
So
bro.
top 32. Like obviously the competitor in you wants to do a little bit better, but top 32 in the world, if you phrase it that way, is something to be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, coming from skateboarding, it's like, you know, you get to that day, and even though you want to be first because that's your goal, you still have to recognize that, you know, top 32 is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Lots of great competitors, and this game is crazy. It can go any way. So it was great matches, and I'm proud. It's my second time top cutting at Worlds, actually. So I'm proud of it.
That's epic, man. All right, so how did you get into PvP? Were you always into Pokemon Go, or did you kind of just like see PvP and then you jumped in? Like, what's your gameplay experience?
So I played since launch, like a lot of people, in 2016, and being from Wisconsin, like I mentioned to you, when it got cold that winter, kind of stepped away from it for a little while, took a hiatus, got back into it around 2019, and at the time there was Sylph, and I saw you could play in local tournaments around you, so I had started getting into that, like just before the pandemic had started, did a few in-person tournaments, and then everything went remote, and I got kind of addicted and started doing like online tournaments, and before you knew it, I was improving and playing a lot, getting better, and now I travel and compete in these in-person tournaments.
Dude, that's so epic, man. So from all of your experience, we need your top 3 tips that's going to help PvP players improve. What are those going to be for you?
The first tip sounds simple, but I tell people the first tip is just know your typings, know your effectiveness for everything, like the back of your hand, because when I didn't really know the mechanics of PvP and I just did a local in-person tournament, didn't really know what I was doing, I knew my typings from playing the main series games as a kid. So I knew if they swapped a Scrafty, I would swap a Wigglytuff. And just having that quick reaction of knowing your typings can be really helpful. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, when you start to get a little bit more advanced, is knowing energy. So using different sources, there's a great resource called pvpoke.com. That's what a lot of trainers use. You can memorize the different moves and how much energy they generate and learn the counts. So for example, if I'm battling in a Azumarill, I know when they do 5 bubbles, that's when they get to the Ice Beam. So I might be able to use that knowledge to catch that Ice Beam on something else. I know when they do 6 bubbles, they get to Play Rough, or if they're running Hydro Pump, that's 7 bubbles. And knowing that energy across all the different moves can be intimidating at first, but once you have that knowledge, it can really help with your energy management, as we call it in PvP. And then third would have to be move timing. And that can be a little bit complicated, probably to like explain right here, but basically you have different turn durations of fast attacks, whether it's 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn, and you have to time it depending on your opponent's attack, which sounds like a nuanced little thing, but once you get to these big stages like at Worlds, it can make a huge difference in the amount of energy that you're giving your opponent for free. So it's something that players maybe don't have to worry about for a while, but once you get to like that higher level, move timing can be really critical to winning and losing games.
Okay, so do you have an example of a move timing like that where you would want to throw something or not throw something and make sure that you don't give your player any type of extra energy?
Yeah, so one example would be if we can use a Azumarill again. I'm looking at an Azumarill down at there.
It's influencing you.
So a Azumarill runs Bubble, which is a 3-turn fast attack. If I was battling against something like an Annihilate, which runs Counter, that's a 2-turn fast attack, I would want to throw on odd numbers. And the reason for that is because if I throw on even numbers, that would be like 6 turns versus 6 turns lining up, and they would sneak in an entire free counter. Versus if I'm throwing on an odd number, that'd be 1 bubble, 3 turns, and it would line up to 2 counters, just 4 turns, only giving them 1 free turn as opposed to 2 free turns. So it sounds really nuanced, but it can make a big difference in flipping games at a high level.
Yeah, no, that's very important, especially like, you know, you see how many games at Worlds and these big tournaments that come down to just like that last, you needed 1 bit of energy. So if you didn't give them that or did give them that, could make the difference if they were able to knock out your opponent or you're able to take them down.
Right, sometimes we say like 1 HP in a dream if a Pokemon barely lives to get to a move in the end, and if you maybe threw on bad timing, maybe the Pokemon wouldn't have gotten to a move that maybe it otherwise could have if you threw on proper timing. So that's something that we harp on in the PvP community.
Okay, and then so as far as like the energy for moves, for the Azumarill, for an example, obviously you can get Ice Beam, Play Rough, and Hydro Pump. How often do you see people save to, let's say, a 7 to have a Hydro Pump, and they're not even running Hydro Pump to throw you off? How in your mind would you kind of differentiate that, or would you need to see it thrown first to know which moves they have, or what do you guess sometimes based on their whatever?
Well, a lot of people watching this might be more so playing in the Go Battle League. So for that, you just kind of have to play the mind game. And usually people are running Ice Beam Play Rough, and they might bait you like they're running Hydro Pump, and you just kind of got to play that mind game. Like, I don't think you're running Hydro Pump. In these tournaments, we actually do open team sheets, so we see whether they're running Ice Beam, Hydro Pump, or Ice Beam Play Rough, so we know that. But it's definitely a mind game, and sometimes they might build like 9 bubbles, 10 bubbles before they throw. So then you have really no idea. And that's when it's really important to know, like, okay, he did 9 bubbles, he threw the Ice Beam, so he has 4 residual bubbles of energy.
Yeah, that's very important. Especially, I didn't know that in these tournaments that they give you all of the movesets of the Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you registered them beforehand, and it didn't used to be like that. It used to be blind, so you didn't know what. I actually lost in last year in Japan's Worlds because my opponent power-up punch baited me with a Medicham and then landed the Psychic. So because it was closed team sheets, so I didn't know he was running power-up punch. But now it's open team sheets, so you see what movesets your opponent's running.
Okay, and which one would you prefer?
I like open team sheets because it takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it. I guess one con is, like, I'm a big Mew fan, and Mew is known for having just a wide array of moves.
Swiss Army knife, right?
So Mew would be a little bit more fun if it was closed team sheets because you could surprise people. But I think it takes away a little bit of the luck and the guesswork with open team sheets.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, I probably sit in the same as you, where it's fun to have that, but it's also not fun to play against that. But then when it comes and everything's on the table, it's a little bit more about PvP skill than it is about, like, guessing the actual move. So I understand why they might do that.
Yeah.
All right, man. So where can everybody find your journey in PvP and learn from you?
You can find me on YouTube at Rise to the Occasion. It's spelled R-E-I-S. It's a play on words with my last name. And Rise to Occasion on X or Twitch as well.
All right, guys. There you have it. Make sure to tune in. Stay tuned to this dude's journey. He's going to the top next season. And we have ourselves RocketClare. How are you?
I'm really well today, thank you.
How did Championship Sundays feel for you today?
Oh, it looks so exciting. I'm so excited to be here. I'm absolutely pumped.
That's amazing. Okay, so how did you get into PvP? What inspired you to transition? Maybe you always were, or did you at some point into the game just be like, oh wow, I really want to start doing this?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. I wasn't into PvP or the main games at all. I've loved Pokemon Go as a game. I've loved the community. And then when friends started to say to me, how about you try PvP? I had a go and I found it so much fun. I've always been a competitive person, more so in other sports. But when it comes to PvP, I just found another level of enjoyment and a way to engage with people and a way to, I guess, satisfy that need to compete and to win something.
I love that. Okay, so did you compete this year?
I did indeed.
Okay.
I competed in my local regionals and some local competitions and managed to get enough points to qualify for Worlds, and that's why I'm here.
Nice, there we go. Okay, so for people that maybe are advanced players or beginner players, what are some of the tips, top 3, that you would say would really help people advance their gameplay?
Yeah, I think energy management is absolute key in this game. For me, I think if you look at the top 3 things that you can work on, it's being able to understand what your opponent is trying to do or how much energy they have saved up so that you can guess when they might be about to throw a charge move, and then you try and time your switch into another Pokemon for when they throw their charge move and try and catch that charge move on a Pokemon where it won't be as effective. So you're wasting their energy and maximizing your energy, because the Pokemon you've taken out can also have energy saved up that you can use later on. So the first tip would be try and maximize your energy, swap out into a Pokemon where their move is less effective and catch that move on there and waste their energy. So you're getting an energy advantage in that way. The second thing that you can then do with the Pokemon that you've held in the back with all the extra energy is bring that in and try and snipe your opponent. So sniping is a really fantastic way to get an advantage. They may not be expecting you to bring that Pokemon back in, so you try and surprise them at a key moment. and try and bring the Pokemon back in, throw the charge move, and get an effective charge move off on their Pokemon. Particularly if you've already got their shields down, that is a really great way to get another advantage.
And then usually for sniping, you would say that Pokemon already has energy saved up, so you can bring it in and throw a charge move immediately.
Yeah, you've saved your energy from when you've brought it out previously, taken it out previously.
Right.
Maybe their Pokemon has built up some energy, but if you snipe them and they're down shields, all that energy they've saved can be wasted.
If you can knock them out.
Exactly,
Right,
exactly.
love that.
And I guess the third is a bit of a combination of that. So it's a bit of a combo play. So you can actually throw a charge move with your Pokemon that you've already got in against your opponent, take their shield away, then snipe, come back in with a Pokemon with energy built up, throw that move, and if they've already used their shield, there's nothing they can do. So combine all of those plays together and you are getting a huge advantage over your opponent.
I love that. So it's more of strategy of when to switch, when to not switch, charging up energy, reserving that energy, not throwing it, and then try to using that energy on a advantaged placing.
Absolutely, and all of this involves a really strong understanding of type effectiveness, an understanding of how much energy your opponent is at, and when they are likely to throw, whether they're likely to throw when they get to the charge move, or whether they're going to optimize their move timing. So a lot of it is a lot of thinking of a lot of different things at once, counting, understanding your energy, their energy. It's really involved and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds amazing. So where can everybody find you to follow you and to keep update on your journey and your tips as well?
I'm on Twitter as RocketClare. I'll keep everyone updated on there, and if anything else eventuates like streaming, I will definitely be posting it.
Yeah, when are you going to start streaming?
Oh, everyone asks me that. I think as soon as possible. I really want to engage more with the community.
You should. It's pretty, it's not super hard, and it would definitely be a great way for you to connect and relate and help people out.
Sounds fantastic.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we are here with Lyle. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Let's go, man. All right, dude. So obviously, we're putting together PvP tips. How did you get into PvP?
Yeah, I got started playing Pokemon Go in about 2020, and my brother introduced me to PvP battling. And just since then, I've been trying to get better and slowly work my way towards Legend and in the Play Pokemon circuit. So it's been a lot of fun and success for me as well.
That's awesome, man. All right, so as far as tips, right? We're trying to give people some tips that they can digest, that they can use, that they can get better with. What would be your top 3 tips that you would recommend that people start to really learn that would take their PvP gameplay to the next level?
Oh, for sure. First, most important, and this may sound a little basic, but you need to know your type effectiveness. It's very critical because there is a lot of unique typings in Pokemon Go, and the way typings affect each other is slightly different in Go than some of the other games, such as the main series, etc. So you really need to make sure you can learn your type effectiveness in the Go specifically. Secondly, once you've mastered that, you need to get a good idea of energy management, and that encompasses counting, because you need to be able to optimize your energy in comparison with how much energy your opponent has.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's important because carrying over extra energy into the next matchup can be critical in flipping winning and losing scenarios. So, and there's lots of resources out there. PvPoke is a really good one, and PokeMoves is another good one that we use. PokeMoves.com.
Okay, cool.
And that is an amazing resource that has all the counts there, and it may seem daunting, but you can just start with the few Metamons that you're seeing constantly in GBL and work your way up from there, right? You don't have to learn everything all at once.
Right,
so.
yeah, I think that's the biggest for me. It was daunting. It's like, oh my God, I see all these Pokemon getting thrown at me and I'm like, I don't know how to count these things. So I just go for a feeling when I feel like the move is coming, I want to quick swap or whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you can pick one Mon after, doing your sets. Oh, I faced Azumarill 6-7 times today in my sets. Maybe I should take a look and see exactly how that Pokemon generates energy and how it reaches its charge move. Then the next time you see an Azumarill, you might recollect that, and that might help you, right?
Yeah.
And you just kind of build on that slowly over time. And I mean, I've been playing PvP for over 3 years now, so it's a building process, but it does come with it does kind of grow quickly, actually, the more you learn. So.
For the knowledge, once you start learning, it starts growing easier?
Yeah, because you start noticing patterns.
Okay.
a lot of, let's say for instance, Thundershock and Psycho Cut, like two different Pokemon, like let's say Electivire and Cresselia, they might be different Pokemon, but their fast moves are the exact same. So they generate energy and damage at the same rate.
Got
it. There's a lot of similarities. You might think they might be different, but there is ways of like carrying over your knowledge to other Pokemon as well. So
that makes a lot of sense. No, that's super helpful, guys. Don't get overwhelmed, even though it is overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Take it bite-sized. I really like that tip. That's great. Look at a Pokemon that you face often and try to understand that Pokemon, and then maybe at some point you'll use that Pokemon, or even if it's just to understand when facing it. Very good. Love that.
So final tip for getting better specifically in GBL and also in Show 6 would be line reading, or sort of line guessing, you can call it.
Okay.
So when you see the first Pokemon or the second Pokemon, you can sometimes try to build up some sort of recognition of what might be in the back and where you want to utilize your Pokemon, right? This is especially in GBL, it can be trickier because it is more random and you could have educated guesses, but a lot of times you don't know exactly what the opponent's going to be running.
Yeah.
But specifically in the play Pokemon circuit, you know the opponent has 6 Pokemon, right?
Right.
And if you've seen 2 of them, that means that there can only be 4 Pokemon remaining.
Sure.
And based on the mons they're bringing, it's likely that they probably only have maybe 1 or 2 options in the back. So you can kind of utilize that to help you maneuver through the battle and make like decisions on what mon to bring in certain scenarios. So, which can be very critical.
That's super helpful, especially like there's a lot of people that put out videos and they have teams, right? So if you see 2 Pokemon coming in GBL, you might be able to guess what the third one is, stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
and then when you're
exactly.
here at Worlds or you're doing this type of circuit, if there's 6, they're probably not going to play more than likely like a hyper glassy Pokemon sitting in the back, right? Like they could.
Well, let's say if you have a Pokemon on your team, such as like a Bastiodon, and they're leading Skarmory, you would expect them not to have a Charjabug in the back most of the time. Not all the time.
Yeah.
But you could kind of use that knowledge to your advantage. I would say there's lots of play Pokemon locals going on. You can check the event locator to try to find places in your area if you want to help develop your skills. And I'm always trying to help the new people in my area to like learn and grow as well. So
That's amazing. So where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitch at LyleJeffsIII, and also Twitter or X under the same name.
Awesome, man. So you stream your battles?
I stream my battles pretty much daily. And a bit of variety content. Maybe not the most PG-friendly stream, but we try to have fun and have a good time.
There you go. All right, well, you guys know where to find it. Check this dude out. Learn from him. Learn yourself. And don't get overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming, but you're going to master it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.
And we have none other than MagicMayson himself, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. All right, so how was your Worlds experience this season?
It was a little bit disappointing. I had a really good run this year to qualify pretty high. Obviously getting top 8 to get travel award in North America, and then just really flustered out. Didn't have a great team. I feel like team building let me down a little bit, so had not an amazing run, but an amazing experience in being here in Hawaii and just watching the whole event and just seeing Yukai come out on top was awesome.
So how does your experience with maybe feeling a little bit disappointed encourage you change your strategy for like next season?
Yeah, I always feel like I'm one of the top battlers, and when I have a good team, I'm able to pilot it well. So I feel like I really want to just focus on the things that I feel like I'm struggling with and work with maybe some other trainers and get more insight instead of focusing on my own beliefs and strategies, and just have more in-depth thoughts on team building strategies and things like that, just because I feel like having a good team is the first step of being a successful trainer when it comes to these events.
What do you feel like you lacked this year in specific from a team standpoint?
I feel like there was just a couple cores that were very popular, and I didn't have anything to sort of break those cores, so it made running balanced lines very difficult against some of these teams. So I guess one of the hard things about having a good team is sort of predicting the meta for an upcoming tournament, which can be very difficult, and I feel like I had a little bit of a bad read on what I was expecting to see in this current iteration of the meta. So might have been one of my downfalls.
That's fair. And then, so when do you have to submit your team that you can't change any longer before this tournament?
Every tournament, it's been as of recently like 7 a.m. or like 2 hours before the tournament starts, or officially starts like 9 a.m. here local time. So you have a lot of time, and I mean that's another thing is I should probably have a team more locked in. There are a lot of trainers who are very similar to me, but like we're the night before, we're second guessing our team, getting a little bit nervous, making switches and stuff like that. So maybe just have a team solidified that I've been practicing with a lot longer, and just going with that.
Totally fair, man. Thanks for being candid and sharing some insights. So as far as the top tips for trainers that would help them PvP better, what would be your top 3?
Yeah, so my first one is honestly just focusing on the fundamentals, especially in a competitive scene when there's a lot of noise and a lot of background stuff going on, or even at home, just focusing on those fundamentals, the good move timing, keeping track of your opponent's energy based off the counts, and just making sure that you're not throwing on bad move timing, especially in these competitive aspects against the best players in the world. One bad move timing, giving them an additional fast move can really flip the match and swing it in their direction. So just being able to focus on the fundamentals is one of the most important in my opinion, and really just hone in those skills and make sure you have the proper move timing down and your move counts on your every Pokemon that you think that you need to know.
Okay, so those were 3 tips all jumped into one, right? Is that what you say, or you got more for us?
I mean, I have more for you, but that was just more so the fundamentals.
Okay, so fundamentals.
Just focus on those with the move timing, really, and keeping track of your opponent's energy generally.
Yeah, the energy is we've heard it many times here, guys. The energy is one of the most important parts of battling. Obviously, typing's very important, core teams like you talked about, but energy management, timing, and the like is very, very important to making sure that you don't get taken advantage of, or you keep your momentum going when you can.
Yes.
All right, so give me another tip.
So the next tip was going to be to design good lines. So to really have a strategy with, if you're going to have a safe swap, sort of have it bait out something for your third Pokemon to maybe sweep. So if you have, those typical ABB lines often work, but even in situations where it's not a direct ABB, Lickitung is a very common safe swap. So you gotta, if you're gonna use that, what are you gonna bait out? Maybe their counter user. Maybe you're gonna bait out their steel type, their Skarmory. So what are you gonna have in the back? If it's gonna be their Skarmory, maybe have a Gligar back there that he doesn't want to really see Skarmory. Now it opens up that window for Gligar to be useful. If it's a counter user, maybe something else like your own steel type or something weak to counter. And that way you can really, use that safe swap effectively. If you're having like an Azumarill in the back and you use a Lickitung to bait out an Annihilate, well, Azumarill wanted to see that Annihilate, but doesn't really make as much sense in that case. So sometimes you're going to run those ABC lines and it's going to make sense, but really just have a strategy for your team of 3 when you're going to select them.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is if somebody throws in a safe swap like a Lickitung, and they're going to, let's say, put in an Annihilate, you want to have something that's going to counter that gets potentially locked into that position. Is that right?
Yes, you want to have a good lead for that counter, and then you want to have that good final Pokemon that's going to not want to see the Annihilate because you already have baited it out with the Lickitung and now cleared it up with your lead Pokemon.
Okay, so that's a good way, I guess, in my mind, when I'm thinking of it, is to balance out, like, let's say you bring something and then they bring a hard counter to it, then you need to be able to take away their hard counter because you don't want to, like, be stuck where it's like, oh, I didn't have anything to clean the rest of this team up and to put me back into an advantage position.
Right, correct. Yeah, exactly. You definitely,
Yeah, no, that's a great tip. Something we actually haven't heard yet today. So, all right, tip number 3, man.
And this is one of my favorite tips, and this is, I will say it's a little bit more directed to the Show 6 Pick 3 format, but a lot of people have a strategy for if they actually lose lead. They know what their safe swap is typically and what they're going to do. They lose lead, maybe I'll chip in this matchup and then switch, or they're going to switch instantly. But a lot of people don't have a strategy for if they win lead. You have your opponent's 6 Pokemon, so if you win these certain matchups, it's good for you. They're probably going to likely switch out. So have a prediction what Pokemon you're going to come into if they swap into that specific Pokemon. You have 5 other Pokemon it can be out of their 6. What are you going to do? Because sometimes if you switch into a matchup behind on energy, you're now going to lose that switch. So maybe you have to stay in with your initial Pokemon and throw one charge move and then switch. Or maybe it's just such a dominant matchup immediately, you can switch immediately and control switch and those different strategies. So in my opinion, a lot of people are like, oh, this is my safe swap. If I lose lead, I'm going to do this. But they don't really have a plan. They're like, oh, if I call their lead, I'm in a good spot. But not if they switch to something you weren't prepared for, you know what I'm saying? In GBL, it's a lot harder because it could be 1,000 Pokemon you're going to switch into, hypothetically. Right. But in a show 6, pick 3 format, when you have, there's 6 Pokemon right there, what if you win that lead and they swap to the LyleJeffsIII, what are you going to do? You're going to have your Steel type, or it's going to have a bunch of neutral matchups, so you're going to stay in and chip first before making that switch to try to maintain alignment.
Okay, another great tip, guys. So I think that for me, my question is, so let's say you win, you have a type advantage in lead, and then you beat their Pokemon. They're going to put another Pokemon in, right? And let's say that you're then weak to that Pokemon. If you switch out, you're getting switch locked, right?
Yes.
So it could potentially put you in a disadvantaged situation right there, that they could clean that up and then potentially have that, right? So how do you balance that?
Yeah, well, typically, like I said, going back to point number 2, if you have good lines, your lead Pokemon is usually protected by both of your back Pokemon in a lot of situations.
And that would be the ABB.
Yeah, so if you have a little bit of if you have that, maybe say Annihilate, and there's 2 fairy types in the back for whatever reason, if you won that lead and they bring one of those in there, you hopefully have maybe a Poison and Steel type in the back. So if they bring one of those fairy types in, you can then pivot and maybe save your Annihilate just in case there isn't 2 fairy types in the back. Maybe it is another, it's an ABB strategy. They lead the LyleJeffsIII because you're hitting super effective with the licks on the Annihilate Ghost type. It's not that bad of a matchup compared to other fighters. So they might have a secondary thing weak to counter. You might need to save your Annihilate for later. So that's why when they bring the Azu in, you want to have maybe a Charge-a-Bug and a Cresselia in the back, both which can fight back against the Azu, which might be the hardest counter or something like that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, guys. This is valuable stuff. You definitely want to try to master this stuff. Obviously, you saw the clips put in here as well to help you guys out. So where can they find you to follow you on your journey?
Yeah, so I post a lot of my updates on, X now with MagicMayson, and then twitch.tv/MagicMayson. I do mainly streaming. So try to, on the Eastern time zone when I get done with work, I work from home luckily. So around that 3, 4, 5 p.m. time slot, whenever I finish up, I'll hop on and do some streams. So definitely looking forward to having some new faces show up. Always thought about starting a YouTube career. Haven't had anything like that yet. So mainly on Twitch is where you can find me.
All right, there you go. But if you guys want to follow him when he does start his YouTube career, you're going to follow him on Twitter. So thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we have Pogo Frostless Girl with us at Worlds. How was your experience?
Oh, it was amazing. My experience was like the best one that I had in my life. When the date of the Worlds came out and the place, I thought, oh, I want to go. It doesn't matter if as an spectator or a competitor, I will try to go anyway.
And you made it?
Yes, as a competitor.
There you go. That's amazing. So I know that you were telling me a little bit about your competitive side. Looking at your frustrations or nerves or whatever you want to call it, how would you feel like you could improve or change that? Even if you had to be in the exact same experience again, what do you think you might be able to do differently to help you out?
Oh, I think I should be more calmer than just staying like shaking.
Sure.
But probably next time I will prepare myself better and try to understand other things about the game, like study more about the Pokemons that I'm using. I think this would be good, and this would bring me some inside calming.
There you go. Yeah, so do you want to just quick, because if people don't know, what happened that caused you to feel nervous in this tournament?
Oh, it's because of the stream. I don't actually, I like to go to the stream, but I feel so pressured. Like, oh, I was there and I was like, Jesus, the whole world is watching me. Yeah. So if I mistake, everybody's gonna be like, oh, she's terrible. So I was so nervous. I feel so pressured with so many people watching me, and I know my friends, they were over there watching me too, and I was like, oh, Jesus, if I did something wrong, they would be like, oh, you should have done that.
Yeah, and that is the reality, but I would suggest from myself being on camera and being in a lot of pressured situations, if you ever have the opportunity to be on stream, you just keep doing it, even if it's small streams, because then the pressure of feeling like you're on stream and you're gonna make a mistake will go down, right? So even though that's maybe, I wouldn't say fear, but it gets you nervous, the more, like, let's say you're at a local tournament, there's a stream, always be the first one to volunteer and go up there, because then you're practicing for this one, because this one is going to be crazier than those ones, but those ones will help you take your nerves down. And that's how I always tell people if they're trying to shoot YouTube videos, it's like, just go out there and start shooting. Even if you suck, even if you're nervous, you just do it over and over again. And the more you do it, the more it will become like, oh, this is just another thing. So that when you get up there, it's like, oh, I've already done 15 of these this year.
Yes, that's great. That's a great tip, I guess. I mean, I don't actually, I liked a lot, but in every regionals I am on the stream, so I'm like getting used to it already.
Perfect.
But I always get nervous and I stay like shaking, and people they tell me, oh, you look like so calm, you look like you're just in peace, but inside I'm like dying.
There you go. Well, maybe some meditation, some deep breathing, something in those situations that you can feel like you can anchor yourself and calm yourself down.
Yes, exactly. I think I should practice it more.
There you go. All right, well, we live and we learn, so next time you're going to be cool as a cucumber up there, and it's going to be great. So how did you get into PvP?
Oh, I got into PvP because I watched a video from a YouTuber in my timing beginning. He was like really good and funny, and he posted something about a girls tournament that was from only Brazilian girls. They were named Vespi Queens, and I was like, oh, I want to participate from this group. I got inside the group. I mean, I used to see all the tournaments, but I've never participated in one. But a friend just told me, oh, you have to participate.
Nice.
It's really nice. Go ahead, you're good, you will try it. Sure. And then I did it, and I didn't understand much about the game. I was kind of lost, but she helped me a lot.
Cool.
And I was like, oh, I liked that, because I finished like in second place. So I was like, oh, that sounds nice. So I'm gonna try to learn more about the game. And then I started studying about the game, like I played some YouTube videos. I was trying to understand everything to better clean up my mind so I could play better. And I was like so happy that I did it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So wherever you guys are at, just get out there, put yourself out there, and you can get there.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I learned everything. Like, I actually started playing, now we are in 2024. I started around 2022, so it's not that long. It's just you have to dedicate yourself. Like, if you don't understand something, then ask someone else, and ask a friend or ask somebody that you believe it knows better than you. So, for example, I always used to go to my friends that were more experienced than I, like, oh, what do you think about this? And never ask them to tell you what to do. Tell them your ideas and ask their opinion about it, and then you discuss about it. This is really good.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip as well. You know, you don't always want to be a copycat. You want to make sure that you're understanding everything that's going on. And so if you have an idea, give it to them, and then you can go from there. So for top tips for people that are looking to go and improve their PvP playstyle, we need 3 of them from you. What would you say?
First of them, you can always contact your friends. Like I said, I think it's good to have other people so you can talk about this, like to better understand the game and everything. And this is really good because you're like having someone that knows better than you, so it can helps you to go through hard times. And for example, I didn't understand much about the turns, about the Pokémons. This was really hard for me, and it's hard for me to count also. And this is like a second tip, I guess. Actually, I started to better understanding the turns of the Pokémons, so I got a better energy management. So it was perfect to me. I mean, when I played in Curitiba's regional, it was so good for me because I had some Pokémons that I knew very well and that I liked a lot, and that I knew exactly how much energy I would have to having any of them, and try to always maximize my energy by making all the turns good. Like, for example, if you have a Pokemon with 2 turns and against another with 5, it's really good for you not to let that energy from the other Pokemon comes, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so you gave me 2 tips. And then the third tip would be, I really like your first tip though, because nobody talked about that, how to get better. It's very important to always try to find somebody better than you that you can learn from. Even for myself when I was skateboarding, I would always have somebody, I would watch the pros, but I would always have somebody that was like just a little bit better than me that I felt like I could reach for, right? Because when you look at the person that's been doing this for 5 years, it's kind of a daunting experience. But if you see somebody that's like a little bit better than you, and you're like, well, I think I might be able to do that. That's a really good mindset to be in, where it's like you just try to chip away to get to the next level for yourself.
Yes, when I was in the beginning, I had a friend that he was so good to me. I mean, he taught me absolutely almost everything that I know. So he taught me like very carefully, like, and he always used to tell me, for example, I used to tell him, I have these Pokemon, this person has this, what do you think I'm supposed to do? And he was like, no, what do you want to do? And then I used to think about it, he used to make me think about it, and then we discuss it, and sometimes I was right, sometimes his ideas were better, and we were learning from each other so much, and this was good.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so tip number 3.
I guess for tip number 3, it's actually also to know your Pokemons. What you're actually using, because it's very important for you to like the Pokemons. I mean, some people say like, this team is weird. I mean, it's not a meta team or something, but the most important thing is that you're supposed to have something that you feel comfortable with playing. So when I did pretty well, I was using a Pokemon that I really like so much, that is Frostless. So I knew all the damage it could take, and also because in PvP we have the different IVs, so it's also very important for you to study about your Pokemon. I mean, I'm going to have a bigger attack in this because I want some CMPs, or maybe I want to have a better defense on it because I needed to have a better bulky thing.
Yeah.
So this is very important. You must know your own Pokemon, your own creatures.
Sure.
So it's really good for you to know them, because if you know them, you know how much damage you can take. If you know them, you know what to do in certain situations that might get out of your
comfort zone?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's good, yeah. And I actually like Frostlass as well. It's a good Pokemon. It hits pretty hard, it charges pretty fast. So for Frostlass, do you run like, I don't know what the exact IVs are, but let's just say, do you run a 0-15-15, or do you run something different on that Pokemon?
Oh no, I was like, I use it in Curitiba's regional, and I did like I use it a lot in GBL, and I had like a crazy team for it. Okay. And then I learned how to use it. Okay. I learned how to use it, and I use like normal charge moves and everything, but I knew exactly what to do, in which situation I should do that. Look, so for example, I got a dark type in front of me right now. What am I supposed to do? I'm gonna give like 3 fast and then exchange to another Pokemon, switch it, and then try again. So it was like,
yeah, no, it's a fun Pokemon. I when I first was PvPing, I play with Frostlass all the time. It's a good Pokemon, little glassy, a little bit vulnerable in certain situations, but like she said, if you like these Pokemon, a lot of people play with a lot of similar Pokemon. That doesn't mean that you have to play with this. I would say, there are some core Pokemon that you probably should have at least one of, just to have some bulk to your team. Yeah. But then there's nothing wrong with having that one Pokemon that like Frostlass that throws in a Shadow Ball that can like totally disrupt somebody's lineup.
Yes, for example, that's why it's very important for you to understand about the energy management. It always comes to energy management, because the Pokemon, for example, it can have a lot of energy and another counters, but if, for example, Frostless, it's Hedgehog beats Frostless, but if you have more energy than that, like maybe giving 2 Shadow Balls would switch scenarios, so having as much energy as you can. And also a good tip is when you learn from your mistakes. Always that you lose. I know it's hard to watch the matches that we lost, like because we get frustrated, but it's very important to watch and learn from your mistakes. What were my mistakes in here? I mean, I'm looking at it. What were my mistakes? Is that okay? Is that not okay? What did I do wrong? What can I improve in the next one? I mean, you have always to keep looking into your mistakes, and also asking for help from somebody who knows more than you. Like, I lost, but I don't actually know where am I wrong. So ask somebody, what do you think that I could have done better to get these matches? This is also...
Oh, well, there you guys have it. All right, so where can people find you to follow your journey?
Oh, you can find me on X, maybe. So it's LNDsJuhsmuniz. And also maybe in Instagram, I don't know, it's just Juhsmuniz because it's my personal Instagram.
There you go. Are you going to stream at some point?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know. I'm trying to push all these people to start streaming. People want to learn from people that they can relate to, right? And it's not that hard, and you have a good personality for it. So at some point, when you do post, make sure to share it on your Twitter because these people are going to follow you and they want to learn from you as well.
Thank you. I would like to do it maybe one day, but I'm a little bit shy. And
So the shyness right there is going to help you. If you stream, it will help you get ready for when you're up on this main stage again. Your nerves are going to be so much more down. Every challenging experience you can put yourself in, all you guys out there, anything that you're afraid of, you want to go through that experience, not around it, because it's going to come back and bite you in the butt at some point or another. Trust me, when I first started making videos, I was terrible on camera. I was nervous. I didn't know how to talk. But doing over 1,000, I just do them now, right? So if you did 1,000 streams, you come back up here, you might win that battle next time and not feel like you're so nervous. So
yes. I guess this is like a really good tip. I guess I'm going to start streaming.
There you go. All right, well, there you guys have it. Follow her, stay along to her journey, and encourage her to start streaming, along with all the other people that you've seen in this video that maybe aren't streaming yet. We need more good PvP players out there that are on these streams. You know, everybody can be a bigger community, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the interview.
Of course. And we have our first champion that we're going to interview. We have Mr. MEweedle. How are you, man?
I'm doing very good, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so 2022 was your year. How did that feel?
I mean, it felt great. It was, you know, the first time I've competed like on a big stage, and I didn't think I was going to win it because there were other great players in the tournament. Even if there weren't the most, it was only the seniors age division back then.
Yeah.
But even so, I mean, it still feels amazing now that I was able to, you know, kind of make my way into the big scene in Pokemon Go and, you know, stand along other great battlers who have now become world champions as well.
I love that. So as far as that goes, you know, because I feel like there's some obviously strategy and obviously extreme level of understanding of the game, but at the same time, when you're in rhythm and everything's going well for you, you have like momentum. Did you feel like, is that a thing for PvP in Pokemon Go, or do you feel like it's strictly based on skill?
Oh yeah, momentum is definitely a thing. I mean, you see it very often in runs like in this World Championships. Like Inadequance had a great run through the losers bracket, and his momentum just kept him going. You know, it kind of fires you up, and sometimes makes you play better, be more aware. Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's not purely skill. It comes down to, you know, how you're feeling sometimes as well. But obviously, skill plays the biggest
like you have to have the skill, but when you have that skill plus the momentum, it's
that's dangerous to face off against.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And did you feel like when you were like, if you were to reflect back in 2022, did you feel like you felt that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a very good run before the grand finals, so it definitely boosted my confidence, and I think it made me play better in the end. So,
I love that, man. That's amazing. Okay, so what got you into PvP? Like, were you always in Pokemon Go, and you were just playing it normally, or did PvP come out and then you're like, oh, now I'm going to start playing Pokemon Go? What inspired you?
Yeah, so I first played Pokemon Go, just the normal Pokemon Go catching Pokemon in 2016, so when the game first came out, like everyone else.
Yeah.
But I kind of slowly stopped playing over the years.
Yeah.
But then during the COVID lockdown, I started playing again because, you know, it was something to do, go outside, get some fresh air, catch some Pokemon.
Sure.
And my dad was playing this PvP thing. So that looked interesting to me. So then I actually just started playing PvP as well.
That's epic.
And then from there, I just played a lot, got more fun, I got better at it, and here I am now,
Dude, that's awesome. I love that story. All right, so let's transition to some useful information for these people. So if you were to give like top 3 tips to help advanced players, beginner players, whatever that is, what would those be for you?
Yeah, so the most simple thing for me that is key to being a very strong battler is timing your fast moves to throw your charge moves. So the way it works in Pokemon Go is when you throw your charge move, it kind of finishes the opponent's fast move that started. So if you kind of imagine you want to throw your charge move in between the fast move, so they don't get any free moves themselves.
Okay.
It's a bit hard to explain, but I think if you watch some of the best battlers, you'll kind of see that they always throw their charge moves at a similar time because they're not trying to give their opponent any free moves. Yeah.
Any extra energy,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay, that's really good. So that's definitely something that is, how long do you think that takes to understand and then to really start to master?
Well, I think at the beginning it's just kind of learning how fast the different types of fast moves are, so how long they take, and then kind of learning what the timing is. And then if you just practice that more often, then you'll kind of not even have to count your own moves. You can just kind of do it by feeling, you know. Just when you see their fast move go through, you're like, oh, okay, I need to throw now. So
that's very good.
It takes experience, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sounds a little complicated, but you guys can definitely learn that. And like you said, you know, you guys saw the video in this clip of him explaining it, so it's definitely something that you can do. All right, so next tip.
Yeah, it has to be a bit more advanced for me, but it's backline reading. So if you kind of you see the opponent's lead, and then there are only 5 other Pokemon it can be in this Show 6 Pick 3 format. So you kind of have to think, okay, well, I've got these 6. If he leads this, he's probably going to have so-and-so in the back, because you don't want to lead kind of weak to something, and then have something weak to that in the back.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to explain, you know, with all so-and-so and, you know, kind of X replacements and whatever. But it takes some skill to kind of know the type matchups and kind of predict what your opponent will be using.
Yeah.
But in very important scenarios, we've seen it on the stage yesterday even, if you bring in the right Pokemon into the opponent's Pokemon because you're predicting something else in the back, that can completely flip the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of makes me think of one of the last matches last night in the winner's bracket.
Yes.
When the Lickitung came out and he switched into Lickitung, he was locked, and he brought a Lickitung instead of the Annihilate.
Yes, exactly. So he probably wasn't reading that it was the Altari in the back then, and that's why that kind of backline reading is really important.
Yeah, because in my mind, I mean, you know, obviously there's some part of PvP where you don't want to switch into an advantage Pokemon and take it out so fast, and then they bring something that's super strong against it that just wipes it immediately, right?
Yeah, that's
But in that situation, that Annihilate, he had double flying.
Yes.
Right? So,
exactly.
And Annihilate's fighting, right? So that's not a good matchup. And he was switch locked into a fighting weak Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. So if he had just like slightly predicted the backline differently, he could have probably flipped that game and actually made it to the grand final.
And that would have been that's a game-changing decision right there.
In the losers finals of the World Championships, Marto Galde takes out Inadequence's Poliwrath with a Night Slash, but he gets the boost. And now Inadequence has a really tough choice to make. Does he come in with the Skarmory, which takes neutral damage, or the Giratina, which takes super effective damage? And he reads what's in the back. He comes in with the Giratina. He can take this Night Slash, and then he has the perfect answer for the Shadow Gligar in the back to finally make him get through to the final of the World Championships.
Chunk of damage, a quick switch into the Gligar. Inadequate, he can't believe his eyes. He has the perfect answer. It's the Skarmory and a wall, the Gligar.
And he can't believe his eyes. He is so surprised. He realizes maybe he has this game in the bag here. Marto's Gligar absolutely going to be walled by this Skarmory. He does still have a Protect Shield, though.
We need to keep in mind here what the win conditions are for Marto Galde. He needs to somehow hang on versus that Sky Attack. Will he use his Protect Shield? Yes, he does. He needs to stall the switch clock as much as possible. There is about 30 seconds remaining on this switch clock here. Needs to figure out a way to keep this Gligar healthy enough. Will we see a double Aerial Ace? No, this is a charge attack priority. Marto knows this is not going to be enough. Inadequate's already putting his fist in the air. He can feel it. He can sniff it. He knows this is his moment. And with this charge attack priority and this final charge attack, this is going to be close to knocking out this Gligar.
Brave Bird coming through. It's definitely going to knock out that Gligar. Annihilate going to come in, just a sliver of health left, just a couple of Steel Wings, and Inadequate's going to Championship Sunday.
There you have it, Inadequate. You can see the emotions. He cannot believe it.
Okay, yeah, that's super important. And that was a great example right there of that. And then, so what's the last tip?
The last tip would have to be undercharging. That's very advanced, and that takes some practice and some skill as well.
I love this tip. It's the first time we've heard it here yet.
So basically, when you throw a charge move, but you need to gain some energy for the next matchup, and you don't want your charge move to KO them. You might not swipe all the bubbles, so you just barely leave them with like 1 or 2 HP, and then you get yourself like a nice energy head start for the next matchup.
Yeah, that's good. And so in that situation, you wouldn't want to do that if they have a special they can throw at you that would knock you out.
Correct.
And then you also would not want to do that if they could gain a special or they're strong against you.
Yeah, so exactly. So if they're very close to their own special attack,
right?
But you also need to undercharge it. You really need to get that very precise, correct undercharge. And getting that undercharge is not an easy skill.
Yeah.
I don't think even most of the best battlers can consistently get like a good undercharge. So
yeah, no, that's a great tip. Something that you probably will get caught sometimes and lose battles, but in the right situation, that undercharge can be very powerful because then you get, like you said, 1 to 2 fast moves, which will build your energy for the special going into the next Pokemon, as opposed to just KOing it and then you have 0 energy, and then you're restarting with that next Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, where can everybody find you, to follow you, to learn more tips from you?
Well, I'm on Twitter at MEweedle.
Yep.
That's it.
And that's it. Well, dude, when are you going to start streaming?
I don't have it planned so far, but maybe in the future.
All right. Well, I'm encouraging you too, because it would be super helpful and valuable to everybody. Also to you. So definitely stay tuned to his Twitter, and when he starts streaming, you guys can follow him there.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too.
I want to take this time to thank everybody who supports me in every facet. It means the world to me, and an extra special thank you to all my Patreons. I greatly appreciate the extra support to continue to allow me to pursue Pokemon Go full time, allowing me to create my daily video uploads in the most timely fashion for everyone's benefit. Plus, I get the amazing experience of sharing my creative processes behind the scenes and raiding all around the globe with select upper tiers. Thank you everybody for being a part of the Trainer Club. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you guys out on the next video.